All right, diving right in, folks. Today we're taking a deep dive into maintaining a growth mindset for long-term success.
Sounds great.
I've got a collection of sources here, an audiobook excerpt, some personal notes on self-reflection, and even a sneak peek into Robin Sharma's Mastery Manual.
I'm intrigued.
Get ready to ditch those limiting beliefs and unlock that journaling power.
This topic really resonates with me because, honestly, a growth mindset is so much more than just a feel-good concept.
Absolutely.
It's a really practical tool for navigating those curveballs life throws at you and for achieving your goals in any field.
I totally agree. And I love practical strategies.
Right.
So let's break it down. What exactly is a growth mindset? The audiobook uses this really cool example. Imagine a kid struggling to learn how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
Classic.
With a fixed mindset, that kid might just think, I'm just not good at this, I'll never get it. But with a growth mindset, they'd think, hey, I'm getting better every time I practice. I just got to keep trying.
See, that's what I love. It shows how even a slight tweak in thinking can completely change the game. And it's not just for kids learning to ride bikes.
Oh, absolutely not.
This applies to everything.
Everything.
From, nailing a new skill at work to hitting that fitness goal you've been eyeing.
Absolutely. This excerpt really hammers home that a growth mindset allows you to see those challenges not as like roadblocks, but as opportunities to learn and grow.
Okay, love that. So we've got the basics down. Now let's talk about those pesky little things called limiting beliefs, the things that hold us back.
Yeah.
My notes here really hone in on self-reflection. And they emphasize how much power we actually give to those negative voices in our heads.
It's amazing how often we kind of self-sabotage with thoughts like, I'm not good enough, or I'll never be able to do that. But here's the thing. Those thoughts, they're not facts. They're just beliefs.
Well, I like that.
And we can change those.
Now, this is where it gets super interesting. The audiobook suggests this technique. Super simple, but powerful. Whenever that limiting belief pops up, you ask yourself, is this thought helping me or hurting me?
Okay, yeah.
If it's hurting you, it's time to challenge it.
I love that. And Sharma in the Mastery Manual takes it a step further.
Oh, tell me more.
He talks about this concept of turning wounds into wisdom. He believes that even our most difficult experiences, those painful ones, they can become incredible lessons if we reframe them. So instead of dwelling on a past failure, he suggests asking, what did I learn from this? How can I actually use this experience to make better decisions moving forward?
It's like taking those negative experiences and turning them into fuel for growth.
Exactly.
And speaking of fuel, Sharma is a huge advocate for journaling.
Yes.
He calls it deepening yourself, which, might sound a bit mystical.
A little bit.
But I get what he's saying.
I do too.
It's about that self-discovery.
Journaling is such a powerful tool for self-awareness. You can kind of step back from the everyday chaos and really reflect on your thoughts, your feelings, and even your experiences. And you know what? The Mastery Manual actually has specific prompts to help you guide that reflection.
Okay, like what?
Well, one of them is to write about your ideal day.
Oh, interesting.
What would it actually look like? How would you feel during that day?
Yeah.
This exercise really helps to clarify your goals and values.
Love that. Okay, so far we've covered embracing challenges, getting rid of those limiting beliefs, and using journaling for self-reflection.
Yeah.
What else do we need to know about cultivating a growth mindset?
2 words: resilience and self-compassion. They are essential. The audiobook makes this really cool comparison. It compares resilience to a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Okay, now I'm picturing those super ripped weightlifters.
Exactly.
So how do we work out that resilience muscle?
By embracing challenges head-on, learning from our setbacks, and bouncing back from adversity. It's not about avoiding those tough situations. It's about developing that mental toughness to get through them successfully. And this is where self-compassion comes in. It allows us to be kind to ourselves when we stumble, because we all do, right?
Yeah, for sure. So it's like being your own cheerleader, but also your coach. Cheering yourself on, but giving yourself that constructive feedback too.
Exactly. And Sharma, in the Mastery Manual, adds another layer to this.
Okay.
He talks about the power of building a dream team for personal growth.
I like that.
He suggests surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, challenge you, and support your journey.
I love that. Because we all need people who believe in us, even when we're doubting ourselves.
Right.
And it's not just about having cheerleaders. It's about having those mentors who can guide us and share their wisdom.
Absolutely. And Sharma encourages us to be proactive about seeking out those mentors. Reach out to people you admire, ask questions, and learn from their experiences. He believes learning from the best is a shortcut to success.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. The fundamentals of a growth mindset, saying goodbye to those limiting beliefs, the power of journaling, the importance of resilience and self-compassion, and building a dream team for growth. What else do we need to know to keep this mindset for the long haul?
Continuous learning is key. Both Sharma and the audiobook emphasize that we need to be constantly expanding our knowledge and skills.
So it's not just about acquiring knowledge, but actually applying it and adapting to those new situations we face.
Exactly. And Sharma has a specific example. He emphasizes reading, like really deeply and widely.
Okay.
He argues that books are like portals to wisdom, and by immersing ourselves in the ideas of these great thinkers, we expand our understanding of the world.
It's like having a conversation with the best minds throughout history.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting. Remember those limiting beliefs we talked about?
Yeah, those pesky things.
Well, Bet David has this almost radical idea that even we can turn those into fuel for success.
Okay.
He calls it using pain as a motivator.
Now, I'm intrigued,
Right.
but also a little scared. Pain is fuel. That's intense.
It is. And he actually tells this amazing story about his time working at a health club.
Okay.
And he was promised a promotion if he outperformed this colleague. So he put in the work, crushed his targets, but then...
Wait, don't tell me the manager went back on his word.
Yep. The position was suddenly filled.
Classic.
Bet David was furious, but instead of letting that anger, eat at him, he used it as fuel to launch his own company.
Wow.
He turned that painful experience into a catalyst for his success.
That's a powerful example of turning lemons into lemonade. But not everyone can just start a company, right?
Right.
So how do we apply this pain is fuel concept to, everyday challenges?
Bet David would say it starts with asking yourself this question: who do I want to be?
Okay.
This question really forces you to confront your deepest aspirations and then use those setbacks as stepping stones to reach those aspirations.
It's like reframing those challenges as opportunities for growth.
Exactly.
So instead of saying, I failed, you say, this didn't work out, but it brought me one step closer to who I want to be.
Exactly. And he also talks about understanding your why. Why are you chasing these goals?
Right.
What's driving you? When you have a really strong why, it's so much easier to push through those tough times.
It's like having that compass to guide you through the storm.
Yes.
But what if you're not even sure what your why is? Where do you even begin?
Bet David suggests a simple exercise. Think about a time when you felt really alive, passionate. What were you doing? Who were you with? What were you going after?
Yeah.
Those moments can give you clues to what really motivates you deep down.
It's like piecing together the puzzle of your own identity. Okay, so we've talked about using pain as fuel, discovering our why. What else can we do to stay on that path to long-term success?
This is where Bet David gets super practical.
Love it.
He emphasizes studying your blind spots.
Blind spots. You mean like when you've got spinach in your teeth and you have no idea,
Yeah.
but everyone else is staring?
Exactly. He says we all have them, and they can really hold us back if we're not aware of them.
So how do we even uncover these hidden flaws?
Yeah.
It seems like, by definition, we can't see them ourselves.
That's true, which is why Bet David is a big proponent of seeking feedback from others,
Right.
especially people you trust.
Okay.
He actually shares the story about how, early in his career, he was coming across as arrogant because he was just so laser focused on his vision. He wasn't even aware of it until someone he really respected pointed out to him,
Yeah.
and he was able to adjust his communication style.
That's such a valuable lesson. Sometimes we need that outside perspective to really see ourselves clearly.
It's true, and it takes a certain level of humility to accept that feedback, even when it's not what we want to hear.
Right.
But embracing it is crucial for growth.
Okay, so embracing feedback is key. What else does Bet David recommend for, navigating challenges and ultimately achieving success?
He talks about processing issues effectively. Instead of playing the blame game or escaping into distractions when things go wrong, he actually encourages us to analyze the situation objectively and take responsibility for our part in it. He even have this formula, investment time return, or ITR.
ITR.
Yeah.
That sounds like something straight out of a business school textbook. Break it down for me.
It's all about assessing the potential return on investment, not just financially, but also in terms of time and energy.
Yep.
He used the example of facing a major lawsuit.
Mm,
Fighting it might feel good emotionally, but it could also drain your bank account and time.
right.
So it's really about weighing the potential benefits against the
And
costs.
making a strategic decision.
Exactly. And he emphasizes detaching from our emotions and making those decisions based on logic and, data.
Okay.
He even has this process called solving for X. It's all about identifying the real issue and understanding the deepest why.
So it's like being a detective, peeling back the layers to get to the heart of the problem.
Exactly. And this applies to all areas of life, he says, not just business.
Right.
Whether you're dealing with a personal conflict or a professional setback, the key is to analyze the situation objectively and then make those decisions that align with your long-term goals.
It's about being in control.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about processing issues effectively, making those strategic decisions. What about the people we surround ourselves with?
Bet David stresses building the right team. He's adamant that no one achieves greatness alone.
Mm-hmm.
We need talented people who share our vision and values to be part of our journey.
So it's not just about hiring those skilled people, but finding those who are a good cultural fit.
Exactly. He introduces this concept of the benefits program, but it's not just about salary and perks.
Right.
It's also about understanding what you can offer your team members in terms of growth opportunities and personal fulfillment.
So it's about creating that win-win where everyone benefits from being part of the team.
Right. He also talks about being selective about who you let into your inner circle. These are the people who are going to have the most impact on you and your business.
For sure.
So you got to choose them wisely. He actually uses this really powerful analogy, the story of Donnie Brasco.
Donnie Brasco, the undercover FBI agent who infiltrated the mafia.
The one and only.
How does that relate to building a team?
Well, Brasco was able to gain the trust of these mobsters and climb the ranks, but in the end, his real identity was revealed.
Right.
And it was devastating for those who thought they knew him. Bet David uses this story to illustrate how crucial it is to choose your allies carefully. Betrayals can be really damaging, both personally and professionally.
That's a stark reminder of the importance of trust and loyalty.
He argues that we need to be really discerning about who we let into that inner circle. Look for people who show integrity, loyalty, and are committed to that shared vision.
So it's not just about skills and talent, but also about character.
Absolutely. And he also emphasizes establishing a principles-based culture.
Okay.
So defining a set of core values that are going to guide the team's decisions and actions.
Like a moral compass for the organization.
Exactly. And then he stresses radical transparency, being open and honest with your team even when it's tough.
Yeah.
It builds trust and accountability.
It creates that space where people feel safe to speak their minds, share their ideas.
Right. And he also emphasizes giving people ownership, empowering them to make decisions and own their work.
Which, fosters that sense of pride and accountability that's so essential for building a high-performing team. So what about compensation? How does Bet David approach that?
He believes compensation should be tied to performance, but he also stresses creating a system that's fair and transparent. He even talks about giving employees equity in the company.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah.
But I can see how it would align everyone's interests, create a true sense of partnership.
Exactly. And he gives specific tips for creating that effective compensation structure, one that rewards individual performance but also company success.
So we've covered a lot of ground on building a strong team, choosing the right people, creating a principles-based culture, establishing a fair system for compensation. What about those challenges that come with scaling a business?
Bet David talks about making momentum your friend, but also being ready for the chaos that often comes with fast growth. He uses a powerful analogy, the story of Morton Downey Jr.
Morton Downey Jr., the controversial talk show host.
Mhm.
What does he have to do with this?
Well, Downey's show was super popular for a while, but his aggressive style and, controversial opinions, they eventually led to his downfall.
Oh, okay.
He lost sponsors, he was criticized, and eventually his show got canceled.
So it's like a cautionary tale about the dangers of unsustainable momentum.
Exactly. Bet David argues that we have to be careful not to let success go to our heads, stay grounded, hold on to our values, and make decisions that will actually support long-term growth. He also emphasizes having a clear vision for the future, like, where do you see your business going? What are those long-term goals?
So it's not just about growth for the sake of growth, but growing in a way that actually aligns with your overall vision and values.
Right, and he gives specific advice for creating what he calls a future truth statement.
Okay.
It's a powerful tool for, like, manifesting your desired outcomes.
So you visualize your ideal future and then align your actions with that vision.
Exactly. And then he talks about staying paranoid.
Paranoid. That sounds a bit extreme.
I know, right? But he doesn't mean it in a negative way.
So it's not about being constantly fearful or suspicious of everyone.
No, it's about being aware of the potential threats to your business
Hmm.
and actually taking steps to, lessen those threats. He uses the analogy of the Fortune 500.
Mm-hmm.
Of those original 500 companies on the list in 1955, only a small percentage are still around today.
Wow.
Right. It highlights how even the most successful companies can be disrupted.
For sure.
Bet David argues we need to constantly innovate and adapt
Right.
to stay ahead of the curve. He gives specific tips for staying paranoid,
Like what?
making friends with Murphy's Law, expecting the unexpected, and building those strategic alliances.
So be prepared for the worst, but still aim for the best.
Yes. And he also emphasizes what he calls moneyballing, designing systems to actually track your business and using data to drive those decisions.
Moving beyond intuition and making decisions based on, cold, hard facts.
He actually uses his own experience to illustrate this.
Okay, how so?
He talks about how he used to pore over baseball box scores as a teenager, fascinated by the data and the stats. And this early fascination with data actually translated into his approach to business. He emphasizes tracking key metrics and using them to inform decisions.
So using data to figure out what's working, what's not, and ultimately how to improve.
Exactly. And he also emphasizes creating systems and protocols that allow your business to run smoothly without you having to micromanage every little thing.
Building a business that can grow without you having to do everything.
He gives specific advice for actually creating those systems, documenting processes, developing training materials, and empowering your team to take ownership.
So creating a system that works even when you're not there to supervise it.
And this all ties back to the idea of staying battle-tested, constantly challenging yourself, and looking for opportunities to grow.
Maintaining that growth mindset even when you've achieved a certain level of success.
Exactly. He uses the analogy of basketball player Andrew Bynum.
Andrew Bynum, remind me.
Incredibly talented, drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers super young, had the potential to be a superstar, but injuries and a lack of focus ultimately derailed his career.
So a cautionary tale about, not just having talent, but also having the right mindset and habits to reach your full potential.
Exactly. Bet David argues that we need to be willing to put in the hard work, stay focused, and overcome those challenges to achieve lasting success. He emphasizes leveling up, constantly seeking out those new challenges and pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zones.
Like a video game. Each level you conquer prepares you for the next more challenging level.
Right, and he actually gives specific tips for staying battle-tested. Embrace tough love, seek out mentors who challenge you, and don't be afraid to fail and learn from those mistakes.
So it's about embracing discomfort as a catalyst for growth.
Now let's talk about leverage. Bet David is a big believer that having options is key for maintaining power.
So not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. When we have multiple options, we're not beholden to any one person or situation. He gives practical examples like diversifying income streams, building a really strong network, and developing those valuable skills.
So it's about spreading the risk.
Exactly. It gives you a safety net. He also talks about the long game of power.
The long game, does that mean like playing dirty or manipulating people?
Not at all. He approaches it from an ethical standpoint. He argues that true power comes from service and humility, focusing on how we can help others, rather than just pursuing our own self-interest.
So using your power for good.
Exactly. He actually gives specific tips, like ask how you can help others before you ask for something in return. It builds trust, goodwill.
It's about approaching relationships with that spirit of generosity and collaboration.
He also talks about positioning yourself for success.
Okay.
Putting yourself in the right place at the right time, and making sure you're visible to the right people.
So it's about being strategic and proactive in, shaping your own destiny.
Exactly. And he gives specific advice for doing that, like attending industry events, networking with those influencers, and building your personal brand.
Creating opportunities for visibility, recognition.
Now let's talk about something crucial for effective leadership.
Yeah.
Understanding what motivates people. Bet David says it goes deeper than just surface-level assumptions.
So not assuming everyone's motivated by money or status?
Right, and he uses this great analogy. He compares it to understanding people's love
Oh,
languages.
I love that analogy.
Mm.
Just like we express and receive love in different ways, we're driven by different things too.
Exactly, and as leaders, it's up to us to figure out what truly motivates each member of our team.
Yeah.
He outlines 4 key ways to praise people, each catering to different personality types, directly, indirectly, through challenges, and behind their backs.
That's fascinating. So what works for one person might not work for another.
It's about personalization,
Yeah.
understanding individual preferences.
So what else does Bet David recommend for effective leadership?
He stresses providing clear direction. People need to know what's expected of them and how their work contributes to the bigger picture. He's all about being direct and specific, outlining tasks, deadlines, desired outcomes clearly.
Makes sense. Vague instructions can just lead to chaos.
Right, and he even suggests using SMART goals.
Smart goals. So refresh my memory.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right.
It provides that framework for clarity and accountability.
So it's about setting those clear expectations and giving people the tools they need to succeed.
And he also tackles a tough topic, firing people.
Oof, yeah, that's a tough one.
He acknowledges it's never easy, but he emphasizes doing it the right way. He uses the phrase, fire gently.
Fire gently.
Hmm.
Doesn't that seem a bit contradictory?
I know, right? But it's about being decisive while also recognizing that these decisions impact real people. He argues that firing should always be a last resort.
Yeah.
But when it's necessary, it should be done with respect and dignity. He even gives tips for conducting exit interviews in a positive way.
So even when it's a difficult situation, you end that professional relationship on a good note.
Exactly. He encourages learning from those experiences, using feedback to improve the hiring process and ultimately build a stronger team in the future. It's about continuous improvement for everyone.
Okay, so we've talked about staying battle-tested, building a solid team, making tough decisions, but what about maintaining a growth mindset for yourself?
This is where Bet David's concept of staying battle-tested comes in.
Okay.
He believes that we should constantly challenge ourselves, look for those opportunities for growth.
So even when you've achieved a certain level of success, you got to keep pushing yourself, striving for more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He compares it to athletes who are always training and competing, always trying to improve their game.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So embracing those challenges, those are the opportunities to get stronger, more resilient.
He actually shares the story of basketball player Andrew Bynum.
Andrew Bynum, didn't he play for the Lakers?
Yes, incredibly gifted player, drafted by the Lakers super young, huge potential.
Right.
But he struggled with injuries
Ah, right.
and maybe with staying focused and driven to reach his full potential. Didn't quite live up to the hype. Bet David uses this to show us that talent alone isn't enough for lasting success.
Right.
You need that drive, that discipline, that resilience.
So it's like a cautionary tale to not let your potential go to waste.
Exactly. Bet David emphasizes leveling up, always seeking new challenges, pushing yourself beyond your limits.
Like in a video game.
Right.
Each level you conquer gets you ready for the next, more challenging level.
Exactly. And he gives specific tips for staying battle-tested. Embrace tough love, find mentors who challenge you, and be okay with failing and learn from those mistakes.
So be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now let's shift gears and talk about leverage.
Leverage.
David believes having options is super important for maintaining power.
So not being dependent on just one opportunity or person.
Right. When you've got options, you're not stuck in any one situation. He gives examples like diversifying those income streams, building a strong network, and developing valuable skills.
Spreading the risk.
Exactly.
Oh.
It gives you that safety net. And he also talks about the long game of power.
The long game, does that mean like playing dirty or manipulating people?
Not at all. He approaches it ethically. He argues that true power comes from service and humility.
Focus on how you can help others, not just your own self-interest.
So using your power to do good.
Exactly. He gives practical tips like ask how you can help others before you ask for something in return. It builds trust and goodwill.
So win-win relationships, everyone benefits.
Right. He also talks about the importance of positioning yourself for success, putting yourself in the right place at the right time,
Yeah.
making sure you're visible to the right people.
Being strategic and proactive.
Exactly. And he gives specific advice for doing that, like attending industry events, networking with those influencers, and building your personal brand.
So creating opportunities to be seen and recognized.
Now let's talk about something crucial for leadership, understanding people's motivations. Bet David says it goes deeper than those surface-level assumptions.
So not assuming everyone's motivated by money or status.
Exactly, and he
Yeah.
uses this fantastic analogy. He compares it to understanding people's love languages.
Oh, I love that. Just like we express and receive love in different ways, we're all driven by different things too.
Exactly, and as leaders, it's on us to figure out what truly motivates each member of our team.
That makes sense.
He outlines 4 key ways to actually praise people, each one tailored to different personality types. Directly, indirectly, through challenges, and behind their backs.
Wow, so interesting. So what works for one person might not work for another.
It's about personalization and recognizing those individual preferences.
Okay, so what else does Bet David recommend for effective leadership?
Clear direction is key. People need to know what's expected of them and how their work fits into the bigger picture. He's a big believer in being direct and specific, outlining those tasks, deadlines, desired outcomes clearly.
Vague instructions can be a recipe for disaster.
Right, he even suggests using SMART goals.
SMART goals, remind me what that stands for.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right.
It gives you that framework for clarity and accountability.
Setting clear expectations, giving people the tools they need to succeed.
And then he tackles the tough topic of firing people.
Yeah, that's never easy.
He says it's never easy, but emphasizes doing it right. He uses this interesting phrase, fire gently.
Fire gently. Doesn't seem a bit contradictory.
Right, but it's about being decisive while also recognizing the human impact of those decisions. He argues that firing should always be a last resort,
Yeah.
but when it is necessary, it should be done with respect and dignity.
Okay.
And he even gives tips for conducting those exit interviews in a positive way.
So even when it's a difficult situation, ending that professional relationship on a good note.
Exactly, and he also encourages learning from those experiences,
Okay.
using feedback to improve the hiring process and build a stronger team in the future.
Always be improving.
It's about continuous improvement for everyone involved, their decisions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He gives examples of how he's used influence to reach his goals in both his personal life and professionally.
Real-world examples.
Oh.
So helpful.
Now let's talk sales. Bet David says that sales is a vital skill for any business. It doesn't matter if you're selling a product, service, even an idea.
So not just those, like stereotypical used car salespeople.
Not at all. Sales is all about getting your customers' needs, building that rapport, and then presenting what you offer in a way that's compelling.
It's about creating value and helping your customers solve their problems, right?
Yeah, exactly. He offers tips for, mastering sales,
Right.
qualifying leads, overcoming objections, closing deals, building those long-term customer relationships.
Essential strategies.
Oh, and he emphasizes having a strong sales process, a system for attracting customers, keeping them engaged, and getting those conversions.
I got it.
It just makes the sales efforts more efficient.
Makes sense.
Bet David even shares how he built successful sales teams and brought in millions in revenue.
Always inspiring to hear those success stories.
Okay, on to marketing. Bet David sees marketing as this blend of art and science, attracting and keeping customers.
It's about getting your message out to the right people. Right.
Exactly. You have to understand your target market. It's also about creating that message that connects with your ideal customer, those relationships that make them loyal.
Got it.
So, to master marketing, develop a strong brand, create content that people actually want, use social media right, and always be measuring your results.
Building awareness, generating leads, converting customers.
Right on. And he's a big believer in putting the customer first.
Customer-centric.
Everything you do should revolve around them.
Okay.
Understand what they need, go above and beyond what they expect, and build a brand that represents their values.
Yeah, it's huge.
He even gives examples of how he's used marketing to grow his personal brand and gotten millions of views for his content.
Amazing. Okay, let's talk about something crucial for success, but that people kind of shy away from.
Yeah.
Finance.
Oh, yeah. Bet David says financial literacy is a must for anyone in business. It doesn't matter if you're managing your own money or making investment calls for your company.
Right. It's not just about making the money, but understanding it and making those smart financial decisions.
Exactly. Taking control of your finances, building a solid foundation.
What are some of his top tips for finance?
Understanding those basics. Budgeting, saving, investing, managing debt.
Big essentials.
Track your spending, create a budget, set those financial goals, and if you need to, get professional advice.
So important to have those strategies in place.
He also emphasizes having a long-term perspective when it comes to money.
Not trying to get rich quick.
Exactly. Building wealth over time, making sustainable choices. Think about your legacy, what you want to leave behind.
Powerful way to look at it.
Okay, moving on to leadership. Bet David defines leadership as inspiring and motivating others to reach a common goal.
It's about setting that vision and guiding everyone towards it, right?
Yes, and to master leadership, he suggests things like working on your emotional intelligence, building strong relationships, and creating a positive work environment.
Creating a culture of trust or respect, where people can work together.
Absolutely. And he stresses the importance of leading by example.
Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. Show, don't just tell. And as a leader, never stop learning and developing yourself.
Leadership is an ongoing journey.
Always be challenging yourself, learning new things.
Okay.
He recommends books and resources to help you become a better leader.
Awesome. Well, we've certainly covered a lot today, exploring all these strategies for keeping that growth mindset and reaching long-term success.
It's been quite a journey through a ton of knowledge and practical tips.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, any key takeaways for our listeners?
Remember, a growth mindset is all about embracing challenges as opportunities to learn, always striving to better yourself, surrounding yourself with people who support you.
It's about seeing setbacks as just stepping stones.
Right. And never stop learning. Whether it's through reading, finding a mentor, or just taking time to think about your experiences, always keep growing.
And then take action. Put those insights into practice, one step at a time.
Great advice. This deep dive has been packed with insightful tips and strategies. So if you were to add another principle to your personal mastery manual, what would it be?
What a great question to think about. And remember, your path to mastery is your own. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep growing. Until next time, folks, keep diving deep.